They called my business a joke over filet mignon, never knowing that joke now pays for my Manhattan penthouse. Candles soften us. The room keeps its edges. Thomas toasts the chrome key fob by Brandon's plate. I mention a European partnership Tier 1 houses, authenticated provenance, limited drops on a digital waitlist. Thomas trims my sentence with a casual hand. Second-hand peddling, he says, pleasant as polished cutlery and just as cutting. The word finds the bruise it made. Years ago I asked him for a $50,000 loan. Budget, ramp schedule, sober projections. He skimmed, set it down, and said no. I went home, opened the wardrobe, chose the bag I swore I'd never sell. The first Birkin. Payment felt like oxygen. Real business builds real things, Thomas says now. Factories, supply chains, jobs. Brandon grins. Margaret's hand hovers near mine. She asks about sleep and vitamins. Named clients mention our model that flags microvariants in stitching. Brandon chuckles. Algorithms. Thomas praises a steel supplier, then eyes my dress. At least you've learned how to present, he offers, the compliment shaped like a leash. My phone hums against the linen. I don't look yet. I sip water, ask Margaret about the gardenias. When I glance down, a name not meant for this table waits on the screen. Evelyn Ross. Morgan Dynamics is in trouble. We need to talk. I turn the phone face down. My pulse narrows. Trouble is geometry. Covenants. Cash. Customers. And also a clock. Thomas clears his throat. Avery, he says, when the party winds down, remember there's always a desk open if you're ready to stop experimenting. Brandon exhales laughter. Margaret murmurs my name and reaches for bread. I drink. In the glass, chandelier and crystal. Behind it, facts they don't ask for, margins that make boards blink. A network that moves like muscle memory. I say none of it. I say this. A client cried when we returned her mother's bag repaired so time looked taut. We create something, I add. Value doesn't only come out of a furnace. Thomas sets down his fork. When the joke's over, you can come work for a real company. The line lands, stirs the old bruise, and then distance. I smile the way you do when a storm chooses another coast. Plates lift, Bordeaux glows. Brandon shows a photo of headlights bleaching the driveway. I slide my phone toward the clutch. We stand. I kiss Margaret's cheek, accept a foil-wrapped parcel, adjust an earring in the foyer mirror. Night smells like wet leaves. I look once at the chandelier, the table staged for triumph, the men mistaking volume for weight. Avery slips her phone into her clutch, eyes glinting. Maybe the joke's on him. To win, sometimes you let them believe you're still playing on the field they drew. The cafe is a study in discretion. Warm amber light, low jazz and privacy screens that give each booth its own gravity. Midtown hums beyond the glass, but in here the air is slow, deliberate. I smooth the post across the table. Morgan Dynamics loses key supply contract. The headline sits quiet, like a snake in the grass. His voice from dinner still lingers. Real company. Steel, furnaces, smoke. As if progress had to burn to count. I slide a folder open, revealing the real shareholder registry. Not the public gloss, but the ledger with weight. Buried within the custody maze, my 10% stake rests invisible. Not a trophy, a lever. Chloe arrives, tablet in one hand, eyes already scanning. Philip Carter's memo, she says, placing a document before me. 90-day covenant breach probable, without immediate intervention. Efficient, clean, no drama in her tone. I give her a nod. Evelyn Ross steps in like she owns the light. Navy wool coat, hair pulled back, eyes assessing the room in one sweep. We shake hands. Equal grip. Equal measure. 10 years ago, she says as she slides in, Thomas told me women don't manage risk. I told him, then you've never seen one forced to. The words land without heat. She opens a slim folio, pushing a term sheet across the table. Vanguard Ridge Capital. 18% bridge loan. Blanket lien. Warrants tucked inside legal camouflage. Brandon's name threads through the emails. Urgent. Overeager. Eager, blind to the trap. Chloe leans in, voice lowered. 2 clients reported delayed shipments. Market chatter says digital vendors are circling legacy contracts. She tilts the tablet toward me. Her notes are surgical. I catch her watching me, cataloging how silence can be sharper than rebuttal. Evelyn studied my reaction. Not surprised? Gravity doesn't surprise me, I say. Only those who forget it exists. I placed Philip's memo beside the term sheet, a diptych of problem and proof. Chloe slides over a board member list. I mark 2 names. They follow whichever side tells the better weather story. We map contingencies, notice periods, quorum counts, clauses ripe for challenge. Evelyn's counsel is precise, cutting without waste. She doesn't try to own the plan, she refines it. Chloe's outline is clear. Once the breach notice lands, Thomas will scramble for a meeting. Speed won't save him, she says. It'll just expose the cracks. Evelyn folds her hands. You have capital, you have cause, now you need the room. I lean back, coffee warm between my palms. So, when they call an emergency meeting, I'll be in the room. And in control. Chloe asks, what will you say when they realize you're the new shareholder? I sip my coffee. Nothing. I'll let them guess, until I walk into that boardroom. Some doors you kick open, others you walk through while they hold them for you, without realizing you own the building. The 35th floor boardroom is glass and chrome, cold light flattening faces. I pause in the corridor long enough to hear Thomas's cadence. Confident, paternal, promising strategic modernization to people already leaning back. I think of coffee and silence and push the door. Inside, an investor in charcoal breaks the politeness. You're 2 years behind Harper Tech, 5 behind Lexicon. Retrofitting a museum won't make it modern. Thomas smiles with his teeth and talks about ribbon cuttings and pride. I enter mid-sentence. I let the hinges announce me. A discreet glance to the investor gallery finds Evelyn. I set my leather portfolio on the table and slide a single sheet forward. Before we spend another breath on slogans, consider the clock. Thomas's voice thins. This is a closed meeting. It is, I say, which is why my 10% stake entitles me to attend and to speak. I tap the registry. Names, blocks, custody notes, my signature, indelible. Murmurs ripple. Philip Carter studies the page, as if it might rearrange into a kinder truth. I open the portfolio, charts, side by side with competitors who move to digital MEB and supplier portals while Morgan Dynamics called webcams innovation. You're losing share because you iterate on comfort instead of capacity, I say. The market is not a patient teacher. A chair creaks. Brandon smirks. We know our business. Your customers do too. I lay down a second document, a term sheet. 75 million via pipe. Immediate liquidity, modernization mandates, performance gates. In exchange for 51% controlling interest and authority to execute. I don't raise my voice. Paper breathes for me. Evelyn sits still. A woman investor folds her arms, measuring posture more than pitch. Thomas laces his fingers. Very theatrical, Avery. But we've already identified a better investor. His gaze flickers toward Brandon. Better hates arithmetic. I let the room keep its temperature. Then present your terms. Thomas clears his throat. We don't negotiate under ultimatums. That's convenient, I say, because this isn't an ultimatum, it's valuation and triage. I page through KPIs like a cardiogram. 90-day covenant breach risk. 2 top clients wavering. A workforce hungry for tools you haven't bought. This is first aid. Brennan leans forward. We have bridges available. 18% with a blanket lien and warrants in the footer? I don't look at him. The kind of bridge you dismantle after you cross. By sending the company into a ditch? Throats clear. Philip's eyes flit to Thomas. The tide turns half a degree. I close the portfolio and set both palms flat. Calm is the only temperature that changes other people's weather. Thomas spreads his hands. You're here to embarrass me. I'm here to keep the building from burning down. Under LEDs, he looks smaller than under chandeliers. Install alarms, not applaud hoses. Evelyn's gaze holds steady. This company has survived cycles, Thomas says. It will survive this one. So will I answer, with or without you. Silence thickens. Seconds pass. I slide the term sheet to center. Liquidity tomorrow. Vendor migrations this quarter. Plant digitization in 6 months. Quarterly targets and governance that doesn't flatter nostalgia. Someone at the far end exhales like a tire. Brandon tries again. You don't understand legacy operations. I understand unit economics and entropy, I say, and a museum can be beautiful without pretending to be a factory. I cap my pen and stand. Thomas's smile returns, brittle. We'll review our options, with better partners? Avery, then I'll make it easy. You have 24 hours to decide. Every hour you wait, the offer drops by 1 million. If you think that was bold, wait until you see what happens when the clock runs out. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next move in this high-stakes game. Sometimes the cleanest wins happen when your opponent walks straight into their own trap. Morning sunlight cuts hard across the conference suite's polished table, throwing long reflections into the eyes of the board. I arrive early enough to see Brandon whisper something to Thomas. Shoulders squared, but his gaze fixed on the table's gloss. Evelyn sits 2 chairs down, a slim folder at the ready. Philip Carter hovers near the projector, stack of memos perfectly aligned. I open my leather portfolio, the same one I carried in yesterday, and let the silence gather weight. Let's revisit where we left off, I say, my voice low enough to make them lean in. A 90-day covenant breach risk, vendor attrition, modernization overdue by years. Thomas shifts, the sound of fabric against leather. I slide Philip's memo to the center. Your own finance officer flagged the breach risk 3 weeks ago. Philip nods, eyes on Thomas, confirming the authenticity. The first murmur runs around the table. Next, I connect my laptop to the screen. The email appears, stark against the white projection wall. Brandon Morgan to Vanguard Ridge Capital, subject line bridge loan proposal. I read aloud deliberate. 18% annual interest, blanket lien on corporate assets, warrant coverage on equity, execution by quarter end. I let the words hang, then turn to Brandon. That's not a bridge. That's a noose. Brandon's jaw tightens. It was a contingency. A contingency you didn't disclose to the board, I counter, or to your largest shareholder, me. The pronoun lands like a stone dropped into still water. I cue the next slide, a letter on a competitor's letterhead. From your top client. They'll terminate their contract if modernization is delayed another quarter. The letter is short, brutal, and impossible to misinterpret. Across the table, a director leans back, arms crossed. Another taps a pen against his notebook, slow and deliberate. Margaret watches, lips pressed, but not entirely unsympathetic. This isn't revenge, I say, turning back to Thomas. This is business, and business demands action. From my folder, I produce the pipe agreement, already signed by Evelyn's fund. I place it in front of Thomas, along with a pen. 51% controlling interest. 75 million in capital. Modernization begins immediately. Or you proceed with an 18% chokehold and lose your largest client. Thomas stares at the paper, then at me. His hand hesitates. You've been planning this. I've been preparing to save the company you're about to sink. Silence stretches, broken only by the faint hum of the HVAC. Finally, Thomas signs. The pen's click echoes. I pick up the agreement effective immediately. Brandon Morgan is terminated as Executive Vice President, performance failure and conflict of interest. Brandon starts to speak, but I raise a hand. Your keycard access ends at noon. HR will facilitate the transition. This is absurd, he says, rising halfway from his chair. This is business, I repeat, colder now. Evelyn leans forward, hands folded, and nods once, her part in the play complete. Margaret meets my eyes for a fraction of a second, and in that moment I see something shift. I close the portfolio. Tomorrow, I'll show the world what Morgan Dynamics will become. I expect every one of you to be there. The room is still, the trap fully sprung, and for the first time in years I feel the balance of power tilt entirely my way. My father used to say justice doesn't exist in business. I just proved it can with a profit margin. The house lights are blinding, but I keep my gaze steady on the sea of faces in the auditorium. Rows of employees, reporters with their recorders raised, and the cool hum of camera shutters create a strange, electric stillness. Somewhere near the middle, Thomas sits stiffly in a navy suit that seems to have aged with him overnight. His chin is up, but the pride he once wore so easily is diluted by resignation. I step to the podium, the click of my heels echoing louder than the polite applause. Good morning, I begin, voice steady. Today marks the beginning of a new era for Morgan Dynamics. Evelyn stands along the side wall with the other board members, her presence a silent pillar of support. I gesture toward the group behind me. Allow me to introduce our new leadership team. 6 figures step forward. Young, sharp, diverse in background and expertise. Their faces carry the energy this company has lacked for decades. I name them one by one, explaining each role, each contribution to the modernization plan. The employees lean forward, murmuring approval at the changes. A click on the remote and the massive screen behind me comes alive. On the left, shaky footage of our outdated factory floor. Dim lights, clunky machinery, workers in worn uniforms. On the right, the crisp rendering of our future facility. Digitally integrated, energy-efficient, sleek. This transformation, I say, is not an aspiration. It is funded, contracted, and begins in 60 days. The European manufacturing deal Evelyn secured flashes across the screen, signed and sealed. In the second row, a reporter scribbles faster. I glance down to the front where Thomas sits. His eyes are fixed on me, unreadable, but unblinking. I pause, then bend down to the portfolio at my side. From it, I lift the first luxury bag I ever sold. The leather is still rich, the stitching perfect. The room goes quiet in an instant. I hold it high enough for the cameras to catch. From this bag, I say, I built a business they called a joke. Today, that business owns the company that once refused me a chance to prove myself. The words hang, weighty but calm. I'm not here to gloat, only to mark the truth. The applause starts slow, then builds, filling the air like a tide. I let it crest before lowering the bag and stepping back from the microphone. A reporter's voice cuts through the noise. Any words for those who underestimated you? I smile, slow and measured. Yes? Thank you. You made sure I was ready for this moment. Flashbulbs ignite in bursts, freezing the expression on my face for every business page in the city. The rest of the event flows like clockwork, signatures, photos, handshakes. But when it's over, I slip away to the top floor. My new office smells faintly of fresh paint and ambition. I walk to the window just as the crane outside hoists the new Morgan Dynamics logo into place. The skyline stretches out, autumn sun catching on glass towers. In the reflection, I see my own outline. Steady, still, unshaken. Victory always has a cost. Today, I know it was worth paying. If you stood with me through every sharp remark, every closed door, and every battle I fought in silence, I want to hear from you. Tell me what you think of how I handled them. Did I play it too quiet or just right? Share your own story of being underestimated, because I promise your voice matters here. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Don't waste energy proving yourself to those committed to doubting you. Build quietly, move smartly, and let your results speak so loudly they can't be ignored. Stand with me. This fight isn't over yet.